To start things off, would you kindly introduce yourselves?
Oh, I certainly will. I'm your granddad. And basically the reason I'm here is because I was a journalist with a magazine called Blues and Soul. It's where it all started in terms of my career in that world, which then blossomed into the world of radio and television through music, which then became sport, and it became fashion as well, and I started writing for other magazines, and that whole media world became mine and I owned it.
You did.
Many decades. I did.
I'm not from that world. Hello, I'm Mark Baxter. I'm not from that world. I was a fan of your granddad's back in the day. I won for London, all that, thinking if he can do that, I should have a crack at that at some stage. Never got the opportunity, but I got into this world of media, that's what it's called, through writing a book, which is called A Mumper, which amazingly, beyond everyone's expectations, I sold the film rights to, which became a feature film. And once I got encouraged to do that, I was off, and that's what I've done for the last 20 years. So now I'm writing books, blogs, social media, also making documentary films over my business partner, Lee Cogswell, and we make films on art, fashion, again, football's in there, sport, music. It's
so the most important thing was to flog a bit of kit as well.
It's the only trinity. It's basically it's music, fashion, and football,
which we both emerged from.
Well, lovely. All right. So, just to be quite frank, Clobbered, what are we on about here? What are we all about?
Your fault.
It's an interesting question. Yeah, well, it is my fault. It's actually her fault as well, surprisingly.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was round Morgan's family home with my good lady wife, Mrs. Webster, as you know her.
A fine woman. A fine woman.
As Morgan knows her, she insists on being called Mrs. Webster. And I was having to watch these videos of grown people eating chicken in Tenerife, was it? Where was it? Where you going on holiday?
Yeah, I think Tenerife, yeah.
Tenerife, they're going on holiday. And I'm saying, why am I watching grown men eating chicken? They said, because this bloke has been watched by 300,000 people.
It's incredible, yeah.
So
I get
this YouTube world, and I thought, I don't know this. This is untapped. Yeah. If you can be that small in your niche in the subject.
Niche or quiche, Will's favourite.
Exactly. He doesn't like, Will, our cameraman, does not
like quiche.
I've got one in my bag, I'm having it. But from Baxter, so I had that conversation with you, didn't I?
Yeah, yes. We met in a pub, unusually, and it was mentioned about doing a podcast about clothes with things we love. We've always loved clothes over the years, different styles. I must be honest, I'm a bit out of my comfort zone. It's not really my world, but I sort of give it a go. And then once you got rolling with it, it was a fantastic thing to do. But what really kept it going, I think, is the amount of feedback. The feedback's been great.
Totally.
Loads of people liking what we do. We've had a lot of fun doing it, and it's an endless source. It's absolutely going forever.
And I think that's the big thing about this, is much in the way that I'm sure those chicken people had thousands of people saying that looks like a nice piece of chicken, or I've had that chicken, or that chicken gave me food poisoning. We decided immediately there's no point in us doing anything other than just indulging our own personal taste. We're not trying to be everything to every man. No. It's just us two talking about what we like and what we know, and we hope that it's stuck.
Yeah, there's no experts here. There's no one claiming to know everything about everything. It's just literally from a personal perspective. I like this. I've always liked that. Or did you know this? That's really what it's about. And it sets off a nice conversation between ourselves, but also online. There's quite a lot of people getting in touch. YouTube's full of people saying, "Oh, I remember this," or "Do you remember that?" Which is what it's all about. It's just interaction's great.
Well, definitely. I think the biggest response we've had really is people telling their own stories about their clothes.
Which is great.
You know, and the way you two speak about clothes, it's not just a piece of material, you know, it's a bit of history.
That's a very interesting point, you're right. Is that because I think people's memories are dressed. There's a wardrobe to your lives.
Yeah.
And you kind of touch into something. You know, that pair of shoes, that shirt become a touchstone to a memory and a time, and a music,
and people,
and friends, and I think it was probably always the case, but until we started saying it out loud, we didn't quite realise how much.
And I think it's people sort of almost dismiss it as fashion and it's a bit, you know, it's over there, it's gone. It's not for us, because we, as Mark said, when we grew up, these things were very important. They were very desirable. To get the money to buy this stuff, or to buy approximation of what it might have been, was very, very important. You had to almost fit in with your peers on where estate you grew up on or whatever. And then once you got the confidence of buying and being involved with clothing, you might start going a different sort of way. And again, but it was the starting point. There was the importance of it all.
And I think, without trying to sound like an inverted snob, and probably about to, very strongly a working class ethic.
Definitely, yeah, definitely.
Aspirational.
Yeah.
That's the world we came from.
Yeah.
That's what clothes are. That's what clothes have always represented for people from our background.
Yeah.
None of it come easy. Nothing comes easy. So if you've got it, you've tried hard to get it.
You treasured it. Yeah, you treasured it. Yeah,
we've done.
That's true. And they obviously that important. Obviously to get some of this stuff, it was a lot of effort, a lot of money. And you looked after it. You just
Although some people didn't spend much money.
Not necessarily.
We
won't go down that road.
No. Let's ignore that. Yes.
Okay, so I want to ask you about Clobbered HQ. Okay, we find ourselves we're in Soho, we're in Savile Row. How did we find ourselves in Davies?
Well,
speaking of aspirational working class people,
well, I'm good friends with Patrick Murphy upstairs. Pat Murphy, who's co-owner of the fine establishment, Davies and Son, number 38 Savile Road. And Pat is a really good lad. If I said to him, look, I've got this mad idea, me and this other fella are going to sit in your basement and just talk about clothes. Most people go, I can't really get that, can't do that, mate, it's a bit in the way. Come in, help yourself, have a drink.
Get in the way of all our equipment.
Yeah, and staff, you know, very encouraging. And we quite like, because everyone's going, what are you down here for? Well, that's what we liked it. We quite like the idea of it being almost anti-location. It's just like being crammed in a corner. And it's worked. And people are fascinated by it all and ask that question on a regular basis.
I don't want to shock anyone here, but we didn't design it like this. It's how it is.
Yeah.
And just to be able to, I mean, the fact is that the reason he sits in a high stall and I sit in a low stall is because there's only two stalls. And so that's that. And that's our
And also, it was free.
Oh,
there was that as well. Yeah, anything, all the film I've ever done anywhere in my life, is very. What's the location and how much is it?
Yeah.
So if you can get somewhere for free or less than free, that is the first choice. And this might have only been one programme.
Yeah,
let's be honest. There's no point going in a studio for 10 weeks. This might have been one go and then that it didn't work.
We've done, and of course there is that simple fact there isn't an accident in the fact that we are in the bowels of a shop which has been the beating heart of fashion and design in London for 3 centuries.
Yeah, there was a little thought process behind it, as in, I know a bloke with a basement in Savile Row, you're doing clothes. It was a little bit of thought in there. It was like, well, if that works, it's fantastic. But even Pat, who owns the company, always said, why do you want to go down here? He keeps saying, even though off you go, why are you doing it?
It's so true.
Okay, so Detail magazine have announced on their website that Clobbered will have a column routinely throughout the year, and your first issue is going to be on Beau Brummell. Why? I'm fascinated by why Brummell is the subject of the first column.
He's the first working class hero, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think he's born in Downing Street to one of them, to members of Parliament. But Beau Brummell is the first name in men's fashion, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, he took it ever so seriously. He'd taken 5 hours to get ready to go out, and he was the first one that made, I think in a way, the first one that wore clothes as a fashion statement, as opposed to wearing nice clothes, maybe a bit functional. This was purely, it might have changed his cravat 15 times a day.
Yeah.
It was a look that he adopted, and he was very influential among the toffs and the royalty, really, the royalty of the country.
This area was fundamentally built up around him. Regency, London, everything that goes with that. And he gave us contemporary clothing. He gave us the phrase suit of clothes. He gave us the opportunity not to wear powdered wigs, for which I remain eternally grateful. It's the power of influence. I mean, trousers adopted from the military to use in everyday wear. Yeah. He was doing then exactly what everybody we know from the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, to the Duffer St George, to no drop names, is twisting, adapting, changing, putting a little spin on. And he was doing that all that time ago. So And of course, he was the first dandy, which is the driving force behind our first article for Detail.
And the thing is, it must have been very influential because we still talk about him all many hundreds of years later. That he's still referenced in a lot of articles and feature pieces about clothing, men's clothing in the UK, Britain. A lot of it starts with Beau Brummell, and he's still giving that name check. Obviously, the statue in Jermyn Street, a little nod to that as well, which is a lovely thing. And it didn't end very well, though, did it, for him?
No,
it went a bit sour at the end, but
no. As I point out, as it says in the article, he went for a bit of bants with the Prince Regent, didn't land, and he ends up dying in poverty.
Yeah, he overstepped.
Diseases in France.
He overstepped.
And not a penny.
Well, you mentioned very important word there, dandy.
Dandy.
Very topical at the moment. You know, we've just had the Met Gala this year, which was black dandyism and styling of black diasporic identity.
Correct. I know this because Morgan told me that we definitely had to do something about it.
You know, we need a cultural touchstone here. What do you think the modern dandy looks like?
Now then. Well, apart from us two, you mean?
Well, you know.
The living embodiment of it. It's a really... In the article, we touch on the way it's changed. Teddy Boys, mods, Carnaby Street, the sappers that arrived out of the Congo.
Absolutely.
I remember seeing those guys. For some reason, they took a bar over in Waterloo Station, probably because they were allowed to have it. And there was this astounding thing, I think probably like the late 80s, 90s, of watching these guys arriving for a social evening out in the most stunning outfits.
Gear,
And I think... And of course, there's the flaneurs who are the
flaneurs,
they're guys that you know, aren't they? That do the walks and wander Soho.
For me, dandy is all those things, all those different youth cults. It's stressing out of your station. It's stressing out of where you're from or what's expected of you, and you one or two amongst that want to make a mark on society. And really, maybe the only way they can do it is by dressing up, and it becomes very quickly one-upmanship. If you're going with 3 buttons, I'm having 5 buttons. If you're going with red silk, I'm going with orange silk. It's all that, and and that goes right through from like Teddy Boys, mods, skinheads, sappers, and to this day, the Met Gala. The Met Gala was like a bum fight, really, about who can be noticed the most, and not necessarily the most outrageous clothing, but certainly eye-catching. And it's that, and dandy is really just being noticed. I think.
And I mean, you know, the reference there to the black diaspora is important in terms of dandy, because of course for Black America that has proved to be their escape for generations. Is showing out. The Harlem Zoot suit. He's as dandy as clothes get, and this is just people saying you think you got your boot on our throat, but we're going to just show you, and we're going to impress you, and we're going to look better than you.
Yeah, that's it.
And so much of that is part of that story. And there's people to this day. I'll put top of my head, Chris Eubank. Proper dandy.
Yeah,
definitely.
He means it, doesn't he?
He means it. I mean, he wears it well, Chris. I mean, some of it's a bit mad to put the way he puts together, but he really plays a part. He's out of Peckham, the fella, right?
Yes, exactly.
Jamaican heritage, Peckham, a boxer, so not necessarily, you know, the prettiest looking fella in the world, but he wears amazing gear, and he'll spend his money. It's to attain that look, he'll spend his money, which is, well, again, dressing outside of what you expect him to look like,
and I think
and sound like, to be totally honest as well.
And again, a lot of the ethic goes back to this working class idea of, and what we just talked about there, the way that's happened in Black American culture, which again is the same point. Working class culture is show. It's showing out. I ain't got a lot, but if I've got a few bob, I'm going to put something on, and you're going to know.
They always say, if you're going to stare, give them something to stare at. There's that.
So a key part of the kind of dandyism a lot of the time is tailoring, you know, and fitting suits to bodies and how we proportion suits. How important do you think that is now when we have such a big culture of online shopping or reselling, you know, second-hand? How important is tailoring to menswear now?
It's a good point, isn't it?
It's a very good question, that.
Because the hands-on part of it, I suppose, is getting less so, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's getting it's a very, very expensive thing to do. There's the first point on that. Maybe 25, 30 years ago, there was high street tailors who were doing approximation of a Savile Row suit for a lot less money. not necessarily the greatest quality cloth or the greatest quality cutting or finishing, but it was a bespoke handmade suit, so you could sell them what you wanted and they would make it. Those guys have found it very, very tough to compete with the high street Primarks, TK Maxx, etc. And they've gone, a lot of them have gone by the wayside. Savile Row is a different world. It's a lot more expensive, and only certain clientele can afford that. But you can buy second-hand suits or second-hand clothing online, loads of different sites where you can attain the look or get a style that references those looks, not necessarily tailoring, but your own take on it. So the influence is always there. I think what these guys come up with and who they dress and where it ends up in magazines and pop videos or wherever it might be, that is then passed on. But you can't necessarily buy it yourself. You can't afford it.
So you're buying the silhouette then, really?
Yeah, you're buying the idea, I think.
Yeah,
really.
it's a good way of putting it. You look at the outline. Savile Row is this beautiful, self-contained entity that exists for a very good reason, and long may it reign. The very first clothes I bought to go out to a nightclub in as a callow teenager, when I met your grandmother, were well-made charity shop clothes.
Yeah.
The best I ever looked or felt was wearing an old tweed jacket that some old man had owned for many, many years and would have cost a lot of money at the time.
Yeah.
Grey flannel trousers, same thing. Almond-toed shoes. I wore Dead Man's shoes quite happily. He don't like that.
No, I don't like it. I used to have a store in Camden, and I used to buy containers for the shoes, would never wear them. But I was put off that by a guy next to me in the store saying, "You never wear Dead Man's shoes. Your foot will go like that. Your foot will follow the shape of the shoe."
You can feel the other person.
I never. Once I heard that was me done. I never wore. I did wear a pair of loafers once, and I regretted it. I can still feel the other fella in my foot.
Yeah, okay, right. So you've got cold guys. I like to think I'm honouring that person's shoes because he bought well, and I think
True.
to this very day. So in the 70s, it was basically charity shops. To this day, it's kilo shops. It's vintage. It's online. Clothes that would represent you as someone who clearly understands what they're wearing. If you want to call it dandy, so be it. Are there. And I don't think you have to you haven't got to go to Beau Brummell proportions and pop into Mayfair to get it all run up. It's there for you at a cut price. It's as often said, it's the way you wear it.
I've got to say, look, as long as you wear it a certain way, or you're referencing something in your, it's only for you. If only you're red.
Yeah, often it's what
it's only for you, really. I mean, you should dress for yourself and won't worry about else. But as long as you make some sort of effort, the people I can't handle are people who have no interest in clothes and don't really have no interest and never wear a particular style. I can't understand that. I've completely grown up in a world of. Even my dad was a very, very fussy dresser. All his mates were very fussy. My uncles were all mods. It was like entirely. Surrounded by people, it was important. It meant something, and they still do. They still wear the stuff in 75, 80-year-old men, very smart, very dapper. Some of the stuff's a bit dated and jaded, but they still make an effort. I really appreciate that.
So exactly the same. Your great-granddad, from my side, I inherited his pair of cut-down Levi 501s from when he was a young man.
There you go.
Strange thing being, he was wearing them as a grown-up, and they fitted me when I was 12.
Says a lot, doesn't
it? Different genetic makeup.
All that free school milk, that's what it was. Back in our day.
They were fools themselves, and then going up for seconds.
Yeah.
Which I did.
So I just want to rewind quickly to the Met Gala again. The theme of black dandyism especially, it evokes ideas of artists, musicians. I'm thinking Harlem Renaissance, that kind of thing. When it comes to trailblazing black style icons, okay, I might be opening up a can of worms here for you to talk for hours, right? Who comes to mind initially?
I think immediately you turn to Coleman Domingo as an amazing looking man, someone who wears his clothes and sexuality with absolute pride, and looked like when he was at the Met Gala, like he was wearing what he had on the day before, he's going to wear the day after as well. But I think that's the strength of it. Denzel Washington remains for me one of the great icons of contemporary Hollywood. An extraordinarily stylish man.
For me, when you say that, I think of musicians like Thelonious Monk, who had a complete weird take on pretty much everything, including music and himself and everything he did. But yeah, he wore some amazing clothes in an amazing way. Again, like he just thrown it on together and like all over. Not really thought about it, but he had. He was very, very, including his glasses, which had bamboo arms, which are, you know, on the glasses, which is, you know, incredible, ahead of his time. And Miles Davis, of course, sharp as you like, again, radical dresser, wore stuff that he wasn't expected to be wearing, and he would cut across that. James Baldwin, the writer, again, had a great look.
Not surprisingly, jazz rears its.
I've got to say, it's my
extravagant head in our world.
It's my entire. That's where we live. Yeah, that's where we live.
Where we live.
Well, thank you very much for having me on the channel. You know, I really appreciate it. And it's been a really insightful conversation.
Thank you. And if we're not at the Met Gala, me and him next year, there's something gone badly wrong.
That red carpet is lacking.
I'll make some calls, don't worry.
Make some calls.
I know you know people.